I think we have Mayor Knight who's going to speak on this. Let's hear what he has to say.
Thank you.
Good morning. I think it's a good morning. Hope it is. Honorable Mayor and council members and City Manager Layton, my name is Bob Knight. I live at 14324 Wakanda Court, Wichita. I'm here to try and bring my perspective. I don't think there's any question in my mind that somebody owes Mr. Gietzen a significant amount of money. He is caught, I think, in a catch-22. Director of Law Rebensdorf is a friend of mine. I have a tremendous amount of confidence in his legal wisdom, and I also can attest to his ethics. However, I am convinced that even your most intractable problems have discernible solutions. This is kind of uneasy for me because I'm going to bring up a friend of mine who is deceased, a previous city manager that I think concurred with me. I didn't go around haphazardly giving assurance to people that when construction damaged their property and it was of no fault to the citizen, somebody stands accountable for that. I know the Donlingers, I know the quality of that company. They've done exploration plays, they finished, Mr. Mayor, you just dedicated the grade separations for the railroads. They've done interest arena. They are really hardworking, talented, successful people. I don't know where this has gone in terms of whether or not Tom Donlinger is aware of it. I know him to be a just man. He cares about his reputation, and he's worked since he was a kid with other family members and all their employees to build up a remarkable construction company that calls Wichita, Kansas home. And I think that's a big deal. I can't remember the exact time frame. I just saw what Mr. Gietzen presented. I do know that he called me, and I do know, after consulting with the manager, that I assured him that if those pilings were destroying his property, and he told me they were very close, and I didn't know whether you could do it within 100 feet or 100 miles. I don't know that much about construction and pilings and borings, but I do know that if we cause problems, I went through 23 years assuming that this city or whoever the contractor was stood behind it. I know each and every one of you. I have personal affection for you. I believe in what you're trying to do with this city. It's a tough time to be leading, and it's certainly a tough time to be implementing. But I think at a minimum, when we're dreaming great dreams for our city, we have to ensure that we do the ordinary things well. There are people that get caught up, citizens, and we have to decide, is what they're saying true, right, and just? Is it not correct? Is it a nuance that only some a legally trained person would understand? I'm pretty basic. That wasn't his fault. I mean, he was a citizen who had his house damaged, and I was shocked when he called me. I don't know how long ago it was, 6, 8 months ago, I don't remember, that it hadn't been dealt with, because I talked to Chris before I left office, and he said it was going to be taken care of. Now, maybe some things came up. I can't imagine what they would be. But in my discussions with him, he was in agreement. What I would ask is for the mayor and the manager to make sure that Tom Donlinger and his brothers understand what's going on. Maybe someone in the organization, someone who is the legal counsel, is doing what's they think is correct, but there's more at stake than that. I think it's the credibility of our city. And Carl, I think you have done an incredible job of creating a vision for our city, particularly the core area. And each one of you, I know what you're doing day to day in part, and I think it is really important. You're all men and women of integrity. This is wrong, and I would ask you to use the intellectual resources of this city, and they're considerable, to find a path to make sure that Mr. Gietzen isn't left holding the bag. I mean, there's no way he ought to be paying $97,000 for a bridge at the expense of his home. So I don't know the exact path to take now, but I think in my mind who's right and who's wrong. And who is right is the important thing, and I think he's correct. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Councilmember Skelton.
Thanks. Bob, hey, I appreciate you coming out today with Mark. You know, I met with you guys when you wanted to, and I visited Mr. Gietzen's house over 5 years ago when he first contacted me. And I'm sure you understand when we have to, you know, we work with all departments in the city, and including the law department. I mean, we take their advice, but, you know, I'm not going to take any staff person's advice wholeheartedly. I want to be skeptical and question that at all times. And I just want to, you know, I know there's a lot of people watching out here today, and I want to, you know, just make it known that I'm here to help the citizenry and solve problems. That's probably the number one thing to do on my list, is help people with those problems. And I'm certainly, you know, willing to look at this further, but I just want you to understand, I want all the public to understand that, you know, the attorney has showed us documentation where this is dismissed by Donlinger, and, you know, he showed me documentation that Mr. Gietzen was sanctioned by the court for filing frivolous matters in this case. We also have documentation that shows that the court dismissed this lawsuit against the insurance company. So it's been dismissed twice. He's been fined in court for filing frivolous matters. Now, I wasn't there, but that's what I see here on the paper. This is what the attorney tells me, and you know, I think everyone up here cannot. We have to rely on the information we get, and that's why it's so important that we get accurate information and we get the complete whole picture here. So, you know, if there's some additional information to look at, you know, I'm not going to close the book on this. It's just that, you know, with what I've seen out there, it's tough for me to advocate at this time, sir. I just want you to know it's tough for me to advocate to pay. I mean, if the city would pay, it'd be taxpayer money on a matter that has been adjudicated in court already. So I just want to explain my position.
Not only can courts be wrong,
yes,
they often are. I don't understand all of the nuances, the legal situation. I do understand one thing. His house has been severely damaged by a public works project of this city that I love. And to kind of cast Mr. Gietzen with his resources against government, against a large corporation, and again, it's a government that I care a lot about, and it's a corporation that I care about. I happen to think Mr. Gietzen has been caught in a catch-22, and I have confidence enough of this council and Manager Layton and Gary Riebensdorf and others to figure out a solution to this and to hold him harmless. He should be held harmless.